The film begins with a couple, Oscar and Amelia, rushing through the night. Amelia is in extreme pain, about to give birth, while Oscar drives at full speed, completely panicked. In his desperation, he loses control of the car, and before he can react, a truck appears right in front of them. The collision is brutal, and everything shatters in an instant. Suddenly, Amelia hears a child's voice calling out, "Mom!" and she wakes up in shock. It was all a dream, but not just any dream. It was a memory from 7 years ago, the night that changed her life forever. That accident took Oscar's life, but Amelia survived and gave birth to her son on the very same day. However, instead of love, Amelia carries a deep, buried resentment. Somewhere in her heart, she believes her son is the reason she lost her husband. That same night, her son Samuel wakes her up again, screaming from another nightmare. He is terrified of monsters, convinced they are hiding inside the house, and every night he forces Amelia to check under the bed, inside the cupboard, and in every dark corner. Only after being reassured does Samuel ask for a story and finally fall asleep. But for Amelia, the night is far from over. Her sleep is constantly interrupted, and this has been happening for weeks. She barely gets any rest before morning arrives. One morning, she wakes up to the sound of something breaking. When she goes downstairs, she finds the front window shattered. It turns out to be Samuel's doing. Frustrated, she scolds him, but Samuel insists he was protecting them, even showing her a weapon he made to fight the monster. Amelia is exhausted and irritated. His obsession is only getting worse, and she feels completely overwhelmed. Later, she takes Samuel to visit her sister, hoping for some relief. But things don't go as expected. Her sister reveals that this year, her daughter wants a separate princess-themed birthday party, excluding Samuel. Amelia is hurt, but she says nothing. The truth is, Amelia never wanted to celebrate Samuel's birthday anyway, because it falls on the same day Oscar died. When her sister starts lecturing her about moving on, Amelia quietly leaves, unable to handle it anymore. That night, as usual, Samuel asks her to check the room again and read him a story. But this time, Amelia notices a strange book she doesn't remember bringing. The book is titled Babadook. Curious, she opens it and begins to read, only to realize it is not a normal children's story, but a disturbing horror tale. The book describes a terrifying entity called the Babadook, a creature that cannot be escaped. It warns that when you hear the sound Baba, Dook, 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 it means the monster has come for you. It can appear from anywhere, a window, a door, or even a cupboard. As Amelia continues reading, the tone becomes darker. The book claims that once you notice the Babadook, it will come closer, and when it finally reveals itself, you will beg for your life. Even Amelia begins to feel uneasy. Disturbed, she quickly closes the book and hides it on top of a cupboard, out of Samuel's reach. The next morning, while having breakfast, Amelia suddenly finds a piece of glass in her food. Alarmed, she checks everything, but finds nothing unusual. She immediately assumes Samuel is responsible and scolds him again. But Samuel insists it wasn't him, it was the Babadook. Amelia suppresses her anger and leaves for work, but when she returns home in the evening, she finds the entire house in chaos. Everything is messed up, and even Oscar's photograph has been destroyed. Furious, she confronts Samuel, who is terrified. In fear, he pushes her away and runs into the basement with his homemade weapon. Amelia feels helpless and emotionally drained. Her frustration toward her son keeps growing with each passing day. That night, as she tries to sleep, she once again hears Samuel screaming. Rushing to his room, she finds him hiding under the bed, more terrified than ever before. With trembling fear, Samuel tells her that he has seen the Babadook and that it is coming inside. He begs her not to let it in. Seeing Samuel's intense fear, Amelia somehow manages to calm him down, but her attention suddenly shifts to something disturbing. The same Babadook book, which she had hidden on top of the cupboard, is now lying on the table right in front of them. Confused and irritated, she realizes Samuel must have seen it again, and in anger, she tears the book apart and throws it outside into the dustbin. The next day, Amelia takes Samuel to her sister's house for his cousin's birthday. Samuel stays quiet there, but on their way back, he suddenly becomes terrified. He starts shouting and looking out the window, screaming for something to go away. Shocked by his behavior, Amelia pulls over and scolds him, asking what is wrong. Samuel insists that the Babadook is outside, but Amelia, already exhausted, tries to calm him down, telling him nothing will happen and asking him to behave normally. However, this only makes Samuel worse. His body begins to shake uncontrollably, and seeing his condition, Amelia panics and rushes him to the hospital. The doctor explains that Samuel is suffering from extreme stress. Amelia admits that his fear of imaginary monsters has been affecting both of their lives badly. The doctor suggests taking him to a psychiatrist and gives them sleeping pills so they can finally rest. That night, for the first time in a long while, both Amelia and Samuel sleep peacefully. But the calm doesn't last long. The next morning, Amelia wakes up to a knock on the door. When she opens it, no one is there. Instead, she finds the same book she had torn apart and thrown away, now perfectly reassembled and placed at her doorstep. Terrified, she opens it and notices something new. Additional pages have appeared, showing horrifying images of her killing her dog, then her son, and finally, herself. Fear grips her completely. She becomes convinced that someone is watching them, a psychopath who wants to harm them. In panic and anger, Amelia burns the book. But moments later, the phone rings. When she answers it, a terrifying voice speaks from the other end. Even then, she refuses to believe in anything supernatural and assumes that a real person is behind all this. She immediately goes to the police and tries to file a complaint, explaining that she has been threatened through a strange book and disturbing phone calls. But when asked for proof, she admits she burned the book. Before she can explain further, she notices something unsettling inside the police station, and fear overwhelms her. She runs away without completing the report. That night, as she lies in bed, she suddenly hears the sound of a door opening. Terrified, she hides under her blanket. After a long silence, she gathers the courage to look, only to see a horrifying figure hanging from the ceiling. The Babadook appears and attacks her. In panic, she switches on the light and the figure disappears instantly. Shaken to the core, Amelia grabs Samuel and rushes downstairs. For the first time, she begins to believe what Samuel has been saying all along. She turns on the television at full volume and stays awake the entire night, too scared to sleep. The lack of sleep makes her extremely irritable. The next morning, she lashes out at Samuel even for something as simple as asking for food. But later, she regrets her behavior and takes him out for ice cream. On their way back, something terrifying happens again. Amelia sees the Babadook in her rearview mirror, and the same eerie voice echoes in her ears. Baba, Duke, Duke, Duke. She becomes so distracted by it that she almost causes an accident. Fortunately, they survive with minimal damage and return home. But something has changed in Amelia. She now behaves strangely calm, almost unnatural. After coming home, she falls asleep, but soon wakes up to the sound of whispers. She feels like someone is inside the house. As she goes downstairs, she finds Samuel talking on the phone. When she checks, she realizes he has called their neighbor. She quickly apologizes, saying it was just a prank. But deep inside, her frustration grows even stronger. Furious, she disconnects all the phone lines, refusing to let Samuel contact anyone. When Samuel tries to explain that he is scared the Babadook will return, Amelia loses control. Holding a knife, she angrily tells him that there is no Babadook and no one is coming. Her behavior becomes increasingly unstable. She locks all the doors and windows, creating a suffocating atmosphere inside the house. Terrified of his own mother now, Samuel retreats to the basement with his homemade weapons. As night falls again, Amelia tries to force Samuel to take sleeping pills, taking them herself as well, hoping to silence everything once and for all. Samuel pretends to take the sleeping pills but secretly avoids it. Deep down, he believes the Babadook will return, and he wants to stay alert to protect his mother. For a brief moment, things seem normal. Amelia sits with Samuel and watches cartoons, trying to act like everything is fine. But suddenly, her mind begins to break. She starts having horrifying hallucinations. She sees Samuel lying dead on the floor, a knife stabbed into his chest, exactly like the images from the book. Terrified, she slowly walks toward him. But just then, Samuel screams loudly. In that instant, reality snaps back. It is revealed that Amelia is actually holding a knife in her hand, and she was moments away from killing her own son. If Samuel had not shouted, she would have gone through with it. This is the turning point. It becomes clear that the Babadook has taken control of Amelia. It is using her as a vessel, planning to kill Samuel and the dog first, and then destroy her completely. Amelia sits there, disturbed, while the dog begins barking at her aggressively, sensing something is wrong. At the same time, she notices Samuel heading toward the basement. She follows him, but when she reaches downstairs, Samuel is nowhere to be seen. Instead, she sees Oscar, her dead husband, standing right in front of her. Overwhelmed, she runs to him, hugging him tightly and breaking down in tears. She tells him she knew he would come back, but Oscar calmly tells her that they can live together forever if she gives him their son. At that moment, Amelia realizes the truth. This is not Oscar. It is the Babadook, disguising itself to manipulate her. Terrified, she runs back upstairs, trying to escape, but the entity follows her relentlessly. She locks herself inside a room, but it doesn't matter. The Babadook enters her body completely. Her eyes turn pitch black, and her entire presence changes. The evil has now fully taken over Amelia. From outside, Samuel and the dog watch her in fear as her body begins to shake uncontrollably. The dog senses danger and approaches her, barking loudly. But Amelia, now possessed, reacts violently. She grabs the dog and brutally kills it in the kitchen without hesitation. After that, she rushes toward Samuel's room, but Samuel has locked himself inside. No matter how many times she knocks, he refuses to open the door. Amelia then changes her voice, trying to trick him. She gently calls out, saying the dog is injured and needs help. But Samuel knows better. He understands that this is not his mother anymore. When her tricks fail, Amelia becomes aggressive. She threatens him and then climbs over the door in a terrifying manner, breaking it open. At this point, she completely loses control. She starts screaming at Samuel, telling him that he should have died instead of his father, that she never loved him. Her words are as terrifying as her appearance. But Samuel stays calm. Looking straight into her eyes, he tells her, "You are not my mother." Those words trigger the entity even more. The Babadook, now furious, prepares to attack him, but Samuel quickly sets off firecrackers near her. The sudden explosion catches her off guard, giving Samuel a chance to escape. As he runs, he passes by his dog's lifeless body. The sight shakes him, but he keeps moving. When he turns back again, he sees Amelia, but this time, she looks calm. She apologizes to him, saying she is sorry for not loving him properly and for always being stuck in the past. She promises to fix everything and even says she will reunite him with his father. But Samuel understands the hidden meaning behind her words. He realizes that his mother still intends to kill him and send him to his father. Unlike before, Samuel is no longer confused or afraid. He has already prepared himself for this moment, for the arrival of the monster. Even at this point, Samuel is fully alert, holding a knife in his hand. He knows his mother is no longer herself. The moment Amelia comes toward him to attack, Samuel reacts quickly and stabs her leg before she can strangle him. Amelia screams in pain, and Samuel uses that moment to escape. He runs straight to the basement and hides there. When Amelia follows him, Samuel activates a trap he had prepared earlier. A rope tightens, and Amelia falls down, losing consciousness. When she wakes up, she finds herself tied tightly. Samuel sits nearby, trembling with fear but still determined. He tells her, "Mom, I'm not going to leave you. I will save you." Samuel opens his heart and speaks the truth. He tells her that he knows she doesn't love him and that the Babadook is taking advantage of that. But he promises that he won't let anything happen to either of them. Slowly, he moves closer to her. But suddenly, Amelia frees one of her hands, grabs him, and starts strangling him again. Even then, Samuel doesn't give up. He gently touches her face, trying to bring his real mother back. That small act begins to work. The real Amelia starts regaining control. The Babadook's hold begins to weaken. Her body starts shaking violently, and after a series of intense convulsions, the dark presence finally leaves her body. Amelia collapses, but this time, she is herself again. She regains consciousness and takes Samuel upstairs with her. But just when things seem over, Samuel suddenly remembers something from the book. He tells her that the Babadook can never truly be gotten rid of. In that very moment, an unseen force grabs Samuel and drags him away into his room. Amelia immediately understands that the Babadook has returned. She runs after him and sees her son being violently thrown against the walls. Without hesitation, she jumps forward, catches Samuel in her arms, and holds him tightly. Standing firm, she shouts at the Babadook to stop. She declares that this is her house and her will controls it. The entity tries one last time to break her. It appears again in the form of Oscar, but this time Amelia is no longer fooled. She looks straight at it and says she is not afraid anymore, and that she will protect her son no matter what. Enraged, the Babadook lets out a terrifying scream. The entire house begins to shake violently. Everything trembles, but Amelia stands her ground. Holding Samuel close, she tells the entity that it is nothing and that it will never harm her child again. With those words, the Babadook begins to weaken. Its power fades away because it was feeding on Samuel's fear and Amelia's rejection of her son. Now, Samuel is no longer afraid, and Amelia has finally accepted and loved him. Deprived of its strength, the Babadook collapses and retreats back into the basement, disappearing from sight. Time passes, and in the final moments we see a completely changed life. Amelia and Samuel are happier than ever. She now loves him deeply, and even begins celebrating his birthday, letting go of her painful past. But the Babadook is not gone forever. Amelia visits the basement regularly and feeds it with worms from her garden. One day, when she goes down, the creature tries to attack her again, but she stands firm without fear. Seeing her courage, the Babadook calms down and silently pulls the bowl toward itself. And with that haunting balance between fear and control, the story comes to an end.